we are talking about Sima, right? The rat that is still alive from the lifespan study in India. Yeah. So now she's 47 months old, right? And usually these rats live from 36 to...
no, 24 to 36.
Yeah, 24 to 36.
24 to 36. So how do you view this result that she's still alive? What's your opinion about it?
Well, we applied our treatment, and she seems to have taken well to it. And how do I feel about it? I feel great about it. That's all. Our original object was perhaps not so much for eternal life, which is, as far as I'm concerned, an impossibility, even for the entire universe, but to restore youth. And restoring youth has the effect of stopping the diseases of old age, etc. But there still seems to be some timing mechanism that controls maximal lifespan. That's going to be our next target, not that just like to increase maximal lifespan, double it, triple it. Something that, yeah. But also having youth plus that is a real plus.
Yes, of course. So in the study, what you observed is not that only the lifespan was extended, but also the health span, right?
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. We tested a number of parameters, some of which you mentioned. But we also tested cognitive abilities. We also tested organ function, like, for instance, kidney function by blood, urea, nitrogen testing. We tested for liver enzymes and kidney enzymes, which are released when an organ is dying, and they disappeared. Every parameter looked like a young rat, and we measured about 30 parameters.
Wow!
But Harold, one thing very curious, to say the least, is that Sima was a bit of an outlier in the study. It's true that the rats lived a lot, but Sima,
the average, yeah.
Sima lived specifically a lot. So, do you have any idea why Sima specifically lived so long? And in that case, if only Sima lived until 47 months, if it is a success, and what can explain that difference between Sima and the other?
There are so many variables. It's really hard to say. For instance, giving the tail injections may not always be successful. Intravenous injections. I've seen cases where the stuff just popped right out of the vein, squirted right out of the vein. So that might be one cause. Honestly, there's just so much to find out at this point. There's so much we need to know. We know it works. Now we have to know how it works, and that's a little bit of a more difficult problem, and one that will need extra funding for. And of course, we'd like to make it so that every rat forget that. I don't care about rats at all. We want to make it so that every human being becomes a Sima.
Yeah, because the goal is not to make immortal rats. It's to make...
No. I don't think the world is ready for immortal rats.
No. And also, you made this study with only 8 rats, right? And
correct.
The rats were already very old when the treatment started. So could this be one of the factors that influenced that?
Absolutely. They may have already had ongoing disease processes that we just didn't have time to cure. I mean, it opens a lot of questions. Like, for instance, when should you take your first treatment? For instance, particularly with females, I'm interested in preserving fertility. I asked my wife about it, and she said, "Have periods again? No, thank you."
Yeah, but a lot of women struggle with having kids because they start trying later in life. So it's important for a lot of people, right?
For a lot of people, it would be really important, and our collaborator, what's his name, Goya.
Rodolfo,
yeah. Rodolfo Goya has shown that he can at least partially restore ovary function using plasma. Of course, we find that plasma is only a temporary solution. E5 is a semi-permanent solution. You know, for 7 months, my hand has been in much better shape than it's been in decades. And it seems to really not wear off.
Harold, you said that is working by even by the study with Sima. It's working, but you want to know how it works.
Yeah. And we have some ideas, but I'm really not at liberty to express them, except to say, in a very odd way, the Bible says blood is the life. And we have actually found it to be pretty true. And the fact is that we use the extra life given to pigs at slaughter, because they're slaughtered at between 6 and 9 months of age. And we found out that we can use it just as well on human beings as we can on rats or pigs. So it seems like almost any mammal would be a source. That's in our patent, by the way.
My question is, Sima is the last rat of the study. So now you have a broad vision about that study that started with 8 control rats and 8 treated rats. Now, as Sima is the last one, you can evaluate. You say E5 works, but based on that study, the Sima study, do you think this study is robust to reinforce the perception that E5 works? So how this?
Well, it depends on what you mean by works. If you mean, does it extend life? On the average, it extends life. Does it extend youth? Yes.
Okay.
Because all the markers of youthfulness are there. Mm-hmm. Now, there seems to be a totally separate mechanism that determines maximal lifespan. That's what Steve Horvath found. And that's our next big interest. We were worried that it didn't work on females quite as well, but that seems not to be the case. It seems to work fine on females. So the next step is to extend life significantly. I don't know if humanity's ready for that, but they'll have to be. I think I think this worldwide depression could be cured like that with such an announcement. And you wonder how many people would be willing to go to war if they knew they faced a long life and continual youth. So, I mean, I have my hopes that this will change mankind's fate as dramatically as fire did. So, I think it's a new age. It's you know, I think at this point, when I started out, there was nobody who agreed with me. Nowadays, I think just about everybody agrees with me.
Yeah.
So,
and you mentioned Steve Horvath. In this study with the 8 female rats and 8 male rats, are you guys also doing epigenetic testing?
I believe, yes, we've set aside the rats at minus 80 degrees so we can extract their organs and extract the DNA from those organs and send it to Steve.
Okay, so this is something you're planning to do when the study finishes?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
One very big preoccupation of the community that follows your work was precisely that in females, E5 didn't work. Apparently it wasn't working, but
it wasn't working as well in our initial tests. It was working. We definitely saw a difference. But my own thinking, which may be totally wrong, of course, is that the ovary plays an important part in female aging. And I think there's a fundamental difference because, for instance, once menopause occurs, aging increases rapidly. The death rate decreases rapidly. And I think without any sort of ovarian intervention, and that's another thing we're of course thinking about, that females will reach a phase equivalent to early menopause age-wise and continue pretty much at that age. So we're not, we don't know. We'll find out.
But do you think that the fact that Sima reached 47 months allow us to understand that E5 works? I mean, we don't know exactly how much it works, but it works in females because it would be impossible.
Correct.
Sima reaching that age, right?
Right. Correct.
Okay. And regarding the study with males and females that you made later, it helped to reinforce the idea that it works in females as well?
Yes.
So we can be sure that our mothers and sisters will be able to use it. Okay.
It's that's more important to me than my own my own life. Yeah.
And this scientifically, if we talk about the result of this study, specifically the fact that Sima reached 47 months. If you had to explain to regular, person, the man in the street, what it means, because you tell a person, well, a rat lived until 47. Maybe not everybody can appreciate the importance of it, but if you scientifically have to explain why this is important, How?
1 month is equivalent to 2.5 years, human years. 1 rat month is equivalent to 2.5 human years. So multiply 2.5 by, let's give it the 47, let's say by 11. It lived another 20-something years beyond the normal maximal lifespan. So another 20 years of youthfulness is not a bad thing to have. But we think we can do better than that. We think we will do better than that.
And what are the next steps now? Do you plan to do another kind of lifespan study, or do you want to try 5 in other animals?
We definitely want to do a dog study. So we're planning for that. We've pretty much proven it in rats dozens of times. So this isn't the result of one experiment, this is the result of dozens of experiments. So there's no further point to rats, except it turns out they're our assay. You know, when you try to purify something, you usually have an assay for it. You know, so you know that it worked or it didn't work.
Yeah.
And in ordinary chemistry, the assay is a 5-minute, 20-minute, maybe even an hour job. But here, with the rats as being our assay, it takes days. There's injection, and then there's waiting, and then there's a number of different kinds of measurements that we have to make. So it's difficult. I was hoping that JHU could provide us with some kind of cell culture technique that would show us results fairly immediately, but so far no go.
Oh, okay.
So you said something very interesting at some point that this
must have
no yeah, but this study with Sima showed that E5 is extending the health span and the lifespan, but still it seems there is something related to the lifespan, to the maximum lifespan, that it needs to be understood. This is very interesting. Do you think E5 would need some change in composition, or maybe in the way to be administered in order to
we're looking over many different methods of administration, for potential administration, both from patches to nose sprays to etc., to just simple injections.
Okay.
At this point, our product is, I wouldn't say it's pure. It works, but I think we could give it a much higher activity per milligram than we give it now, because I think there's still a lot of junk that has to be removed. But you know, we want to be very selective. We don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. So we'll take our time to do that, and hopefully we'll get some good people who are expert in that, because we can use help. There's no question about it. But to tell you the truth, we went to Cold Spring Harbor, and even though they kind of hit us, I think people would rather not know about us, our competitors. What was I going to say? Yeah. So we went to Cold Spring Harbor. There's no competitors really to us. They're all off on the wrong direction. They seem to all believe that aging happens at the cellular level, and We've shown that it doesn't. I mean, it's been shown for decades that it doesn't. It's been shown through transplantation, heterochronic transplantation studies that if you take a young muscle and put it in an old body, according to current ways of thinking, that young muscle should be vigorous and strong and form healthy grafts. But it's quite the opposite. The young cell becomes old and forms very weak grafts. And on the other hand, if you put old cells into a young body, you say the old cells die away and nothing will happen. But in fact, the old cells get young and they form a perfectly stable graft. This kind of stuff has been known for decades. And why people can't put two and two together is beyond me.
Yeah. Okay. We do you have an expectation? I don't know how Sima it is right now, but do you have an expectation of how many days or weeks or months she can live?
No idea. So this is our very first lifetime study. So we have no idea.
Okay. Do you have?
We have, at least a partial success. Well, yeah, more than partial success. But we're going to continually improve the product and get down to the nitty gritty. So it's the real basis of how it works. And, perhaps someday we'll even be able to synthesize the necessary ingredients instead of, as it is, it's no more immoral than eating meat. I mean, using a pig derived E5 is no different from eating a ham sandwich in terms of morality. So, I mean, if you're kosher, it's a different story.
When you discovered E5, the initial intention was it's in your book, it was to make HPE, like plasmapheresis, using a plasmapheresis equipment to interchange the blood of the young rat and the old rat.
Correct.
And
that was the beginning, and we had what we believe were collaborators in Germany who never came through with their end of the deal. They sent us to a place that no longer existed, a company that no longer existed, and we're very suspicious. But to tell you the truth, from what I know now, it would have had a temporary effect rather than a permanent effect. E5 will give you a permanent, or at least a semi-permanent effect. It'll really reset your age clock permanently, and then you start aging from that point onward. But with the plasma exchange method that I originally proposed, it probably would have just given a temporary effect, and you'd have to go back for treatments every so often. Here, my hand has lasted in decent shape for 7 months with a single application. Now with the second application, I expect it to age at a normal rate. But it's hard to say because, you have all these factors running through your blood, and we're just applying it on the surface and not nearly enough to take care of all your internal organs, etc. But the fact that for 7 months, the effect has persisted in spite of the fact that that there are all kinds of, quote, I'm not sure this is true even, there are all kinds of pro-aging factors in the blood, which should have made contact with the skin and should have aged the skin, but we don't see that. So now I'm wondering if there even are pro-aging factors in blood, as some people believe. I know there are definitely some. There's a cytokine called eotaxin that increases with age, and one researcher injected eotaxin in a rat and showed cognitive decline equivalent to an old rat. So apparently there are pro-aging substances in the blood, but not enough to have made a difference in my hand. To me, it's very curious. There are a lot of questions, and of course, these questions have never come up before in the history of the world, so it's kind of hard to be definitive about this.
And one last question, Harold. Everybody who is watching this interview, in the end, I suppose, wants to know when we will be able to extend maximum lifespan of humans. So, based in your results with Sima, with the males and female study,
I'm pretty sure within a year or two we'll be able to extend the lifespan and youth span in humans. I plan to be one of the first volunteers.
We are anxiously waiting for.
Well, me too. I'm 78 years old. It's not like that. But doing this is to get publications. I don't need any publications, even though I've got a huge number at this point. But I'm interested in the reality and the facts and actually doing it. And, that's when I went to Cold Spring Harbor and to the BAM meeting, it looked like all the graduate students are just trying to publish papers in prestigious periodicals, not really trying to cure any disease or. I don't even know if they take it seriously. And the few people who came to our exhibit, which they hid over in the corner, I showed them my hands and I showed them our results, and they were amazingly impressed, as they ought to have been. But the rest of the aging community, I think, would rather overlook us.
Yeah.
First of all, we've shown that most of the people have wasted their lives doing research on very peripheral, unimportant subjects. And of course, everybody wants to be first, and we are. And I don't think anybody likes that particularly except our investors and ourselves, of course.